This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for Sports Files is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
My guest today on Sports Files is the former head football coach of the Memphis Tigers, Tommy West. The college football regular season is winding down, but not before some huge games are played this Saturday, including several with national championship and BCS Bowl implications. Thanksgiving weekend also saw a number of big contests played, many of them rivalry games, which included the most improbable ending of a game in the Iron Bowl as Auburn beat Alabama to reach the SEC championship. Last week on Sports Files, we previewed the Egg Bowl, and what a game that turned out to be as Mississippi State beat their rivals from Ole Miss in overtime to reach the necessary 6 wins to go bowling. Well, today on Sports Files, we'll discuss the season to date and preview what's ahead with former Memphis Tigers head coach Tommy West. We'll also relive some of the great moments for Tommy as Tigers coach and find out what lies ahead for his future in the coaching industry. West is the 3rd winningest coach at Memphis and took the Tigers to 5 of their 6 bowl game appearances in their long history. But before we talk pigskin, let's chat about the Memphis Tigers basketball team, which captured the Old Spice Classic over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. The Tigers went into Orlando with some major question marks after getting manhandled by Oklahoma State in their 2nd game of the season. But through coaching adjustments and execution by the players, the team not only bounced back to win 3 straight games and capture the crown, but they also won the title by taking down that same Oklahoma State squad in the title game. Tourney MVP Shaq Goodwin, all-tourney performer Austin Nichols, and head coach Josh Pastner addressed the media about their accomplishment.
I look at it like it's just confirming what we always believed. After the first little test of adversity at Oklahoma State, we showed that we could bounce back and stay together and come together and win.
I mean, it's awesome. It gives us a boost of confidence for sure, knowing that there's some good teams out there that even though we're down, that doesn't mean we're out. We bounced back and, we came through, and I'm proud of the team, and we got the win.
You look back as we were all sitting here, 12, 13 days ago, and when I was talking about course correction, we've made, course correction. Now, I want to make sure we know we're not a finished product. I mean, today's December the 2nd. There's a lot of games to be played. We have a very, very tough schedule. ESPN ranks us the 2nd toughest schedule in the country. So we don't have time to, as I like to say it, to digest the praise, because if you digest the praise, it becomes poisonous.
And hopefully it's just the beginning for the Tigers. Congrats to them for bouncing back the way they did. And now, as promised, time to talk football with Tommy West. Tommy, it is great to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing great. Doing great.
It's like the old coaches show revisited here that we did for so many years. What have you been up to? I know that you've taken a year off from coaching. What's been going on?
Well, back and forth. I've been in Memphis some. I've been in Gainesville, Georgia, my hometown, some with my family. I've kind of taken this year to recharge the batteries and get ready. And if the right situation presents itself, then I'd like to get back into coaching.
What is a game plan for a coach who takes off a year, that has been successful, that has been around for a while? How do you go about trying to get back into it?
Well, you kind of put the word out that you're interested in getting back in. My problem is I don't really know what I want to do. I mean, right. Do you want to be a head coach? Do you want to be a coordinator? Would you want to just go be an assistant? I want to have fun coaching. I'm not going to go. I don't want to go coach somewhere and be miserable doing it. I've been there and I've done it, and I'm not going to do it again. And I'm going to go somewhere where I can have fun coaching. The funny thing is, I always said, I coached high school football 1 year. And I always said when I got to the end of this thing that I would want to do high school again. It was the most fun I've ever had in coaching. And so I wouldn't rule out that sometime, I may be interested in doing something like that and just have fun coaching.
Have you been able to keep up with what's going on at Memphis And then I want to get your thoughts on that, and I want to get your thoughts on Justin Fuente as their coach.
Yeah, you always keep up. I mean, I still keep up with Chattanooga. I was there a long time ago.
Right.
Only there 1 year, but I keep up with them. Obviously, I keep up with Clemson. And, I keep up with Memphis as best I can. And I have an interest, I think, in their program because I put a lot of time and effort into certainly Clemson and Memphis. Memphis 5 years at Clemson and 9 years as a head coach at Memphis. So I got a lot invested in this place, and I keep up with it and like to see them do well.
You had obviously plenty of success at Memphis. It was a very memorable departure in your final press conference, as everybody knows, and you laid it out there on the line and nobody disagreed with you. It's been a number of years since, from afar, and now a new athletic director in Tom Bowen, who's a big football guy. Mm-hmm. Do you see them making those changes that you basically said they need to become a player?
They've made almost all of them. And the things that RC and I had talked about that I felt like had to be done, they've got a turf field now. They've got a place to practice if the weather's bad. They've got a new weight room. Goodness, the old one was so horrible.
Terrible. They're going to build the indoor facility. They're raising the money for it.
That was the last thing that I didn't think we had to have the indoor, but I thought to keep up with the Joneses, that sooner or later we'd have to do that. And so now they're talking about they're going to do the indoor. So, yeah, I think as far as from the administrative part, I think Memphis has done the right things, and I think that they're trying to, they're showing recruits that we're going to put something into our football program. It's not just the buildings, bricks. Bricks and mortar don't win football games, but you show them that there's an interest here. It's the same thing. Like I went to UAB for 1 year with Neil. But there's when you come see the facilities, there's nothing put into the program.
Nothing to attract the recruits.
It's not of high priority. And all the high school coaches in the state know it. All the kids in the state know it. You got to put something in it to show them that football is a priority at this university.
Of all your great memories from Memphis, what's the one greatest memory?
Oh, shoot. the friends. I think I don't know if there's a game. Man, all the people I love the people here. The Highland 100 people, what a great group of people. I remember somebody saying, I know, after you lose, you hate coming to these Highland 100 meetings. So are you kidding me? You're my best friends. You people, if anybody understands, you understand. I love those people. And the players that you coach and that you still talk to a lot. Game-wise, I'd probably say the first bowl game.
New Orleans Bowl.
Yeah, I look back now at Memphis, and you were talking about the success that we had. And it took us 2 years to get into a bowl. Our third year we went to a bowl, and then went to 5 out of the next 7 years. So, I don't mind throwing that out there and let them shoot at it. 6 total bowls in the history of the program. You took them to 5. So we'll leave it at that. You've been doing a great job, by the way, on my radio station, Sports 56 87.7 FM, providing analysis with George and Wolo on the football season. Maybe you missed your calling. It was really, really good. So let's jump into a bunch of things. We had a huge weekend, Thanksgiving weekend. We got a big weekend coming up with championship games. How shocked were you that Auburn got it done? And, of course, the way it was done, you had to be floored.
Obviously shocked at the way that it was done, and we all were, because nobody's ever seen 1-1 that way, especially a big game, a rival game, a game against number 1 in the country. I was surprised at some of the decisions that were made in that game, and especially the missed field goals. But it was probably a little bit better game than I thought it was going to be. I thought Alabama would take that game and win it by 2 touchdowns. Auburn did a great job to fight and stay in it. And then, man, I'd like to have that horseshoe that Gus Malzahn's got.
Exactly. Nobody would take. I don't think there'd be a coach that most people would take over Nick Saban. So let's put that one out there. But was he outcoached in this game?
I felt like that. I thought that Nick and Kirby on defense outcoached themselves.
Okay.
I felt like watching the game. I thought they looked confused a lot of time. Not all the time, but there were a lot of times that the Alabama defensive players had a hard time getting lined up, and they were late getting lined up. They used a couple of times. I thought they tried to get in that perfect play and have the perfect call against Auburn's personnel group.
Right.
And, Alabama's good enough not to have to do that. Alabama's good enough to line up and play with you. And so I felt like there might have been a little bit of overcoaching, and I bet if they came back and had it to play again, they'd get them lined up and get their cleats in the ground and play.
If you believe in fate, you believe Auburn's going to beat Missouri, but how do you see the SEC championship game on Saturday?
Well, I think Missouri's going to win the game. I don't. You know, now I wouldn't bet any money against Auburn. Right?
It would be foolish, right?
Yeah, if I was a betting guy, I would not bet against Auburn. But I don't know. I think Missouri has got the better team. When you look back at the way Auburn has won some of these football games, especially the last two, I think Missouri can be the team. I think defensively they're good enough. They're fast enough up front to control the quarterback somewhat, which is what you have to do against them. And then I think Missouri can score. So I like Missouri in the game.
Tommy, first of all, do you like Ohio State to beat Michigan State in the Big Ten Championship? And then I'll ask you the follow-up question.
Yeah, again, I mean, it'd be hard for me to bet against Ohio State. I mean, they've won 23 in a row. So
Meyer hasn't lost in Columbus.
No, he's never lost. How about that? And then, you know, so Michigan State's awful good on defense. It wouldn't be a total shock to me if Ohio State gets beat, because they've had a few close calls. Northwestern hung around for a good while, and they're not a really good team. A very average Michigan team, which really didn't understand that one. That game should have been an overtime.
You didn't like the
game.
call to go for two.
I didn't like the call at all. I don't. You know, I learned from Gene Stallings a long time ago, don't ever make decisions to take your team out of the game. Let your players win or lose the game. Don't make a coaching decision that loses the game for you.
Interesting.
He made a decision to go for two there. When he kicks extra point, he goes to overtime and let his kids win the game in overtime. But when you make that decision right there to go for two, now you've made the decision whether you're going to win or lose it. And I don't like that. I would have kicked the extra point and let my team go into overtime and try to win it in overtime. And plus, you're at home.
Right. Let's assume then Ohio State takes care of business. And we're going to talk a little more about your friend David Cutcliffe and Duke in a second. Let's assume Florida State does what they're supposed to do. They're a 29-point favorite. Is it slam dunk, Tommy, in your mind that it should be the two undefeateds, Ohio State and Florida State, or does the SEC champion that comes out with the one loss have a legitimate argument?
I think it's got to be the two undefeateds. That's how I would vote. If I was still voting, I would vote the two undefeateds, because there's too much margin for error when you start saying, okay, well, which one-loss team? I mean, who had the worst loss? Who had, you know? I don't get into all that, because what if Okie State beats Oklahoma? I mean,
right, they only have one loss.
Now, they had a bad loss to a West Virginia team that's not very good. So, but still, the SEC. The only reason we're talking about a one-loss team possibly is because it's an SEC team. If that third team right now was Oklahoma State, I don't think we would be talking about them jumping Ohio State. It's just they've won so many in a row. It is the best football conference in the United States. And I think that's the only reason that we're talking.
So should they be given the benefit of the doubt because they won seven
I don't know
straight?
how you, but how can you penalize Ohio State for not losing a game?
Right.
Still, it does matter who you play, but I don't think that's number one. You got to win them all, and if you win them all, then I think you should play for it. Now, you know, the interesting thing that I think about now is what would be wonderful right now is if we had the 4-team playoff, and you had Florida State and Alabama playing, and you had Auburn and Ohio State playing. That would be a pretty interesting get-up right there.
But here's the argument. The loser of the SEC championship game does get their second loss, but they made it. They won their division. They made it to the championship game, and Alabama, who's sitting at home, jumps ahead of them. And then what happens with Baylor or Oklahoma State with a one loss? There'll still be an argument, even with a 4-team playoff this year, right?
There'll still be an argument, and there always will be.
There will be for the future,
I want to tell you
right?
something, and I don't think that's a problem. I've always said, when they talk all the time about playoffs and having a playoff before all this came about, you know, I was always okay, because what can happen is, I said, you know, the bad thing, I'm talking about, this is from a coach's perspective.
Right.
The bad thing about a playoff is you can go 11-1 and get beat in the first round of the playoffs, and you had a terrible year.
Right.
And Alabama's a great example right now. They're 11-1, and they're all down in the dumps because they're not going to be in the BCS championship game. They're not going to be in the SEC championship game, and they lost to Auburn. It's a horrible year, and you're 11-1.
Crazy.
Jeez.
Give me 30 seconds on David Cutcliffe and the job that he's done at Duke. 10 wins. They're in the ACC championship.
It's never happened before. Nobody's ever won 10 games at Duke, ever. You know, David, if you go back now, of course, David and I are friends, but
right.
David had a great I thought he had some great teams at Ole Miss, and won a lot of football games at Ole Miss. David did an unbelievable job, I think, this year. And I said today that which is harder, to go undefeated at Ohio State, to win 11 at Missouri, to win 11 at Auburn, or to win 10 at Duke?
10 at Duke.
Sure, man. I mean, none of us would want that job. Nobody would want somebody to say, you got to win 10 games at Duke next year. Are you kidding me?
Incredible to win 10 at Duke. Also incredible for Missouri and Auburn to bounce back from where they were last year and the next year win their respective divisions. I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment.
I think so too. And the Coach of the Year balloting is going to be really interesting because
tight.
all three of those guys, and we left out Florida State.
Right.
I mean, we haven't even talked
Jimbo
about
Fisher's
Jimbo.
done a great job.
Or Urban Meyer, for that matter. And you hate down here, for whatever reason, we don't even like to talk about him. We don't even like
Exactly.
We don't
He's up
even
in
like
the
him on the
north.
radar.
Exactly.
But come on, now, he's done a great job this year too and gone undefeated. But Jimbo, what a great job Jimbo Fisher's done. Then you got David, and then you got Pinkel, and then you got Gus Malzahn, and I mean those are some great jobs. So it'd be interesting to see how it turns out.
Hey, Tommy, we like to end all our interviews with something called 5 for the Road. So I need a quick answer to these 5 questions. Put you on the hot seat.
Okay.
What's your favorite professional team in all sports?
Holy smoke! Favorite professional team, Atlanta Falcons.
Atlanta Falcons. Ooh, tough year.
Yeah, bad
Favorite
year.
pro athlete of all time? And when you were young, growing up, who'd you
I would
idolize?
say Michael Jordan.
MJ, okay.
Yeah.
Favorite music? What do you listen to?
I listen to country music, mostly country.
Who's your favorite artist?
Favorite I would say would probably be
Straight?
Tim McGraw.
Tim McGraw.
Yeah.
Good choice. Favorite movie of all time?
Godfather.
Godfather, the original.
The original well, all of them really, but
They were all good.
that's my favorite book, favorite movies, and I bet I've seen it 20 times, 30 times.
Who's your favorite character in The Godfather?
Don
in the series?
Corleone, of
Okay.
course.
Favorite TV show?
My favorite TV show is probably, I don't watch a lot of television, but probably my favorite show would be, I like that show about the house hunters.
Okay.
Where they hunt
You're a
the
reality
houses.
guy, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Other than that, I don't watch hardly
We'll
any.
make
TV.
sure in the future it becomes Sports Files.
Yeah,
That'll be your favorite show. It was
Bad-
great
bad
seeing you
answer.
again.
Hey,
Absolutely.
thanks.
Best of luck, Tommy.
Enjoyed it.
We'll stay in touch, and hopefully you're back in the coaching ranks next season.
Hope so.
That's Tommy West. We'll take a quick break, come back with our overtime segment. The Mississippi River Kings have come out of the gate flying, winning 9 of their first 14 games of the 2013-14 Southern Professional Hockey League season. Head coach Derek Landmesser has put together a well-rounded team that is expected to challenge for a title, something the Kings experienced back-to-back in their CHL days in 2002 and 2003. Well, Derek, great start to the season. Things are going really well. Why have things clicked so far in the early portion of this campaign?
Well, I think we found that chemistry with some veteran guys and some younger guys. We've had the success early, but the chemistry's been there, the work ethic, and we got a great group of guys this year.
Has the roster changed over a lot from last season?
Yeah, it has. We have 8 returning players, so we've sprinkled in 10 new guys. Some guys have played throughout the league the last couple of years, but we've got some really good, solid rookies out of college and junior, and we've brought in some veterans from other leagues as well.
Well, you're getting great goalkeeping from Dan McWinney. You picked him up from Huntsville, I believe. Great acquisition. Tell us what makes him so good.
Absolutely, he's a veteran goalie in this league, and he's been in the league now for a few years, and he's just a competitor. He battles hard every night, and also we got Cron, who's off to a great start as well. He's another guy that comes to work, and gives 100% in practice every day. So with those guys, having those guys in net and having the defensive core we have, it's tough for teams to come in here and score goals.
All right, tell me about some of the players, some of your key guys that you expect to come through each and every night, each and every game that fans need to get familiar with.
Well, I think the fans already know those guys. You know, one of them would be Leo Thomas, our captain. He's a great leader. He's a great kid. You know, I was fortunate to play with his older brother, and I got to know Leo when he was you know, a young 16-year-old who came in here to skate with us towards the end of the year one year. But you know, he brings it all every night. You know, he does all the little things. He's a tremendous leader, like I said. So the fans obviously know that he's one of our go-to guys, and also we got some other guys that, you know, are big offensive threats. You know, we got Matt Whitehead and Todd Hosmer, guys that you know, have had success at this level and will continue to.
You have a couple of guys who don't mind dropping the gloves and showing a little fisticuffs, and you're a bigger, stronger team, as you told me earlier. But talk about that, having enforcers, having guys that not only are protecting their fellow teammates on the ice and are not going to get pushed around, but are also putting on a show for the fans.
Oh, without a doubt. Those guys, you know, you can't say enough about those guys. They're character guys, and most of the time they're the most popular guys in the room. They do all the, you know, the dirty work for some other guys, but they're awesome guys to have in the room, and they're extremely important to have on your team.
You work very hard in the offseason putting together the roster, and even during the season when there's injuries or when you want to make a change. So how hard is it for you, Derek, to mix and match, to find that right chemistry for the team?
You know, it is a little tricky, and obviously the summers are the toughest, because, you know, you're recruiting all summer long, and you're on the phone, you know, 7 days a week, and, you know, you're on the phone at 11 o'clock at night because, you know, some of these guys work, and, you know, they're the West Coast or they're the East Coast. So the recruiting in the summer is obviously is a crucial part of this job, but you know, it's finding that chemistry when the guys get to camp here in training camp, and you kind of try to find out what lines work, you know, what guys fit with other guys. But you know, once that, you know, puck drops, it's you know, it's showtime. And like I said, I think we got a great group of guys, and, you know, and I like what we have.
Year 3 for the River Kings in the Southern Professional Hockey League. Been to the playoffs the last couple of years. What are the prospects for this year? How do you see this league lining up?
Well, obviously, you know, we want to win. I mean, you know, I know we're a development league, and we want to develop our players. We want our guys to get to the next level, and you know, obviously have long careers. You know, if they can play, you know, 8, 9, 10, 15 years of pro hockey, you know, that'd be fantastic. But obviously, our goal is to win. You know, we've gone too long here without winning, and, you know, I was fortunately, you know, part of the team that won the last championship here, and I know what it means to the area and what it means to the team. So obviously that's our goal. All
right, you mentioned development league. For those who don't know, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, we're kind of, you know, if you want to say a quote unquote a single A league, where we help promote guys to the next level, to the AA level. Last year we helped promote a total of 9 guys, which was basically half our team. So
wow,
it's nice to do that, but it creates a lot more work in season for us. But at the end of the day, you know, it's the right thing, and I love helping guys get to that next level.
Yeah, how taxing is that for you? Because you're first of all developing a game plan for your opponent, and then you're dealing with transactions. Oh, I just lost this guy. Wait a minute, I'm game planning right now for Huntsville. How does that work, and how does it weigh on you with having the dual role?
Well, there's no question there's some long hours. You know, it's not your 9-to-5 job. You're on the phone, like I said, you're on the phone late at night some nights, and then you can obviously lose guys at any given time. So you can, you know, Thursday night you're preparing for a Friday, Saturday game, you know, you can very easily lose a guy or two. So to scramble and to do some homework on some guys and to bring some guys in, it's a lot of work, but like I said, it is what it is, and I enjoy it.
All right, you and I have talked about this a number of times. Being down here in South Haven, as opposed to years ago when the River Kings played in Memphis, a nice Landers Center arena. But the crowds, back in Memphis, a lot more per game average, per season average. What do you think about the crowd? I know they're enthusiastic, the people that are here, but how do you think things are going so far crowd-wise?
I think they're going decent. Obviously, the start of the year, every year is a little bit tougher on us because of, you know, the football and the basketball that's here and high school sports that are going on. But, you know, come January 1st is normally when we really pick up. And that's when we start getting some of our bigger crowds. But, you know, like I've told people before, to come out and just check it out. I mean, to be here live and to see a live game and to be part of it, it's you know, it's a total different game than watching it on TV. And I know people that I've talked to that have come to one game, you know, they're thrilled by.
They're hooked in one game,
They're
right?
absolutely hooked, and, you know, they got to learn the rules, but you know, I know they have a good time.
I don't know if people realize just how tough it is to skate and shoot a puck or stop a puck or fight on skates. I mean, it's bad enough for me to try to stand on skates. But that athleticism is absolutely incredible.
It is, and you know, just to get out and skate, we have post-game skates after our games, and that's when some of our fans get out for the first time and put the skates on and try to twirl around. But no, it takes a lot to become you know, what these guys do night in, night out. It's very physical. You know, it's a physically demanding game, and it's, like I said, I think it's the best game in the world.
Always a pleasure to talk hockey with you. Best of luck, Derek. Good to see you again.
That's great. Good seeing you.
The River Kings take to the road Friday, but return home to the Landers Center in South Haven for games Saturday and Sunday versus Bloomington. And that'll do it for this week's show. A quick programming note. Next week, catch us on Friday night at 7:30, not Thursday. Then the following week, we will return to our normal Thursday night time slot. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.